Greetings, everybody. It's Robin here from Courageisthecure. I have a very special guest with me here today. It is my good friend, I think I can say, Mr. Colin from Perth, Western Australia. How you going, Colin?
Very well, Rob. Thank you.
Awesome. It's a lovely summer's day here today, so it is a bit warm, but we can still sit close to each other, can't we?
Always been my intention.
Right, so we have you here today because Michael from cafelockedout is putting up material from 12 months ago at Camp Epic in Canberra. And Colin is one of the very few people from Western Australia who went across to Canberra in a convoy and stayed there, spent some time and had some experiences which... I don't know if that giggle is safe or not. So that's why we have Colin here today to record something historical for cafelockedout, because Colin is one of the people that went across to Camp Epic. So I believe you had a driving partner, a road trip partner, who unfortunately can't be here today.
Cross out the driving partner.
Okay, not driving partner. Okay.
He went 200 k's, and that was out of a total of 9,726 kilometres. That's all I allowed him to drive. He's a shocking driver, and I'm probably the worst passenger alive. So, yeah. You
only met Strummer that morning that you left, wasn't
it? I actually spoke to him on the phone on the Monday night. I'd applied to, when I first heard about it on the 6th of February, the Sunday, I'd heard they were thinking of sending a convoy from West Australia. I said, "Oh, that's for me for sure." And I have a 22-year-old Mazda 3, and I thought, "Oh, I wonder if it'll go." And that anyway, the next day, on the 7th, I shopped around and I found out on Telegram post there that there's a few people there were organising this rally to go over there, so the convoy. So I said, "Oh, bugger it, I'll get into it." And I applied to go as a passenger because I wasn't sure whether my little rig was ready to go. But anyway, I didn't get many feelings from a passenger. I know they might have thought what a nutcase this old fella might be. So we weren't going to take him as a passenger. So anyway, I had my vehicle checked out and a few other things, and she was A1 to go. So then I decided I put on, anyone want to be a passenger with me and that sort of thing. And during the conversation at Telegram, I'd spoken with a Simon, and I forget his name off the top of my head right now, and I put his phone number in my book there and that sort of thing. And anyway, I followed him up sort of thing, and as best I can, And then that night, about 6:45, Simon rings me and he said, "Oh, I want to be a passenger." Yeah, I said, "Yeah, right, I'm out here. Where are you from?" He said, "Oh, Nannup." I said, "Oh, Christ, Nannup. How many heads have you got first?" And then he said, "No, I'm right. I'm out there." I said, "What are you bringing, mate?" He said, "A guitar." I said, "Oh, you must have two heads, mate. You can't be from Nannup playing a guitar and not have two heads." Anyway, so the next morning at 6:45, he gets up here, and I said to him, I said, "Are you Simon?" I won't use the surname. So H. He said, and I said, "Do you have relatives in Geraldton?" He said, "No, why would I have relatives?" I said, "I know a family there that have had a bit of problems up there and that sort of thing. I thought you might have been related." He said, "Why would a surname of Murray have a relative called Horseful?" I said, "Well, I've got you down on the phone." I got the phone out and showed him. I said, "Yeah." I was talking. He said, "I've never talked to you before." I said, "All right." So anyway, it was a bit of, as it turned out, Simon H. I said, "Oh, I hope he's not at the bloody Midvale waiting for me. He's 8'18" and wants to break my neck or some bloody thing because I promised him a lift. Anyway, we get there and it was all sweet and so we decided to go, and we left Midvale about 9 o'clock on the 8th of February. Yeah,
so
about 33 cars, I think there was. Yeah.
Wow, 33 cars. And so you just showed me a picture. I think that's such a great story about Strummer. Sorry, just to go back.
Yeah.
But the person that was supposed to meet you didn't actually come, and then
well, it was just just we were talking to Simon because I put down Simon and the bloke's surname starting with H, and then but it was a surname of Murray. So I think I don't know, a bit of a cock up, but anyway, I'm used to those sort of things.
No, I think that most of them are synchronicities. I don't know about cock ups.
Yeah, synchronicity. That was a grown up word I was trying to use. Yeah.
A grown up word. Awesome. How many days did it take you to get across to
Yeah,
Canberra?
we done it in 4 days. We stopped the first night at Norseman. The second night was Strummer was supposed to be the navigator, and I was driving. He said, "We've got to stop 20 k's west of Nullarbor Plain." So no, east of Nullarbor Plain. So I thought I was up with the leading crew, and I gunned it a bit, and I got about 100 k's past it, and I'm going to pull up here. Anyway, he got his east and his west mixed up, so that all stopped 150 k's back and that sort of thing. So anyway, I had a bit of a free run on them and that, yeah. And then that was the second day. The third day, we drove to Mildura, which is 30 or 37 k's prior to Mildura. And then on the fourth day, 852 kilometres, we got to Epic Park in Canberra at about 7 o'clock that night. And it was epic.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, Robin. Unbelievable. There was figures bandied around about 1 million people, but they did say, I think even the mainstream media slipped up one time. They said there was about 700 to 750,000 people on Epic Park alone. It was just unbelievable, yeah.
So then the vehicle that you just showed me, that led you up from where to where? Sort of just outside of Canberra itself, of the main CBD, is either Parliament Park or Government Park. I think it's Government Park, and that led us, I don't know, 2 or 3 k's, I suppose, up to Parliament House itself. Yeah, wow.
I carried with 3 other young people. I carried a big placard that was nearly as wide as a road up there, and when I got up to the top of the hill there, these old fetid police, and I went on, boom, he jumped in it, and I said, "Oh, just excuse me, mate, we've got to tie this thing up." And then about 3 other federal police run up, "You can't do that, you got to get down there." So hence we had to take it a little further away. But they were actually awake. I thought they were dead the way they're standing there, the mob of maggots.
It's like one of those cardboard cutouts at the bottle shop that says stealing is an offence. For a second I thought that was real, but it wasn't. Right, okay, so if you had to describe to the young people what that feeling was like with, let's just say 1 million people were there, because that's just a great round number, and it's certainly closer to the truth than 10,000, that's for damn sure.
Yeah.
Can you describe to everybody what that was like, being at Camp Epic with so many people in one place for, let's say, one purpose?
Yeah, I'll preface it by just saying I'm not really a huge mixer and that sort of thing, and I sort of voice my opinions.
I don't believe that.
I voice my opinions and that sort of thing, and sometimes this fella might give me the shits, or that mob might give me the shits a bit, or something like that. But over there, I cannot believe the love, the camaraderie, and just the whole we're all in this together scenario. And it was just, doesn't matter they were black, white, sprinkled, or red-headed, or green hairs, or anything else. It was just all on the one page, and it was just amazing. And didn't matter how old you were, or what religion you were, where you come from. It was just so amazing. And I've often said the most exhilarating 23 days of my whole 76 years of my life, actually.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you showed me a picture of Bossy, who you met over there.
Yeah, I'm not normally shy, but I wasn't this day. That's right. Yeah, I met Bossy, and he on the 18th, which is Friday the 18th, he had a question and answer thing there, and I saw him coming in. I made myself known, and I said, "Oh, they call me the king because I think I was the oldest bloke around and that sort of thing. And Strummer christened me the king, and everyone at the parks followed that. And anyway, I met him and I said, "Oh, Ricardo, I'm Colin, blah, blah, they call me the king, blah, blah." Yes, and I said, my mate to come with me. He's a great folk singer sort of thing, and he loved the opportunity of singing a few songs and that sort of thing. And I said, "What do you think about it?" And he said, and we spoke for a while. And anyway, when he opened his conference or whatever you call it, he said, "Oh, look, well, very big welcome to everyone. Anyone here from New South Wales? Yeah, ACT, Queensland, South Australia, Victoria, of course." He said, "I don't suppose there's any people from Northern Territory here by any chance?" Yeah, there's a few there. And unfortunately, West Australia wouldn't have been able to. And is there any from West Australia? Because I think there's about 40%. Yeah. And he said, "Oh, the King's there. That's right, the King from West Australia." And he said, he's got a mate, Strummer. And the King says Strummer wants to sing a couple of songs, so we're going to let him sing some songs. Yeah, everyone yelled, yeah. So anyway, Strummer got up there and he plucked away for a few minutes, and then they said, "That was wonderful. Do we want another one?" "Yeah, bloody hell, yeah." So anyway, Strummer ended up singing us 4 songs there and that sort of thing.
When you speak the truth, you'll always be your man. As days became the weeks, stories were told, I realized I met the kindred soul.
And then the next day it was basically Ricardo's rally sort of thing, and Strummer started off with a couple of songs, and I was hiding under the shade there with another crew and that sort of thing, and he came over and he said, "Oh, where's the car keys, Colin?" He said, I feel like I'm cooked inside." And it was the day that all the LRADs and all the other bloody stuff was going around. Fortunately, I only got a bit of sunburn, a bit on my lips and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yes, so many people were badly hurt.
Well, Michael was just talking about that yesterday on Cafe Lockdown, and people were commenting about their different injuries that they got from those weapons that were used.
I saw one poor lady, and she was, probably in her 60s, and all down on both her legs, skin was peeling off on that sort of thing. That was 3 or 4 days after. It was just shocking. And fortunately, I didn't cop much of it, but I don't understand a lot of that crap and that sort of thing, and the measuring and that. But I know I was with the 4 or 5 nurses there, and they, whatever device they had, they said, they come back and one of them said, "Look, this is 8.2 and it should be 1.4, whatever that means, I don't know," but it was just way over the top, and everyone on the grounds there that day said there was something, radically wrong in it. Yeah.
I remember watching live streams those couple of days, but I remember seeing people live on Facebook showing their lips burnt. There's all sorts of different things.
Yeah, I just got a little bit of lip, but a lot of them, when we got moved to this is the 3rd or 4th camp, we'd been moved to Camp Warrior, which is a little bit about 80 k's into New South Wales. There, and there was a lady friend there. We went into Canberra one of the times, and she said, and I told her about this, and the times the coppers got the police, got my doctor on to me to give a test to see if I'm not mental or something, and that's only because I wrote a couple of unsavoury letters to our esteemed Premier. I think his name's Mark McCoward or something like that. Right. And anyway, I told her about them, and so when we went into Canberra one day, so many people did write out complaints and that about the whole LRAD and other things and that. Yeah.
Yeah. So ultimately, because it is 12 months later, it is very significant. A lot of people say that the rallies and even Camp Epic, the convoy to Canberra, didn't achieve anything. So what I'd like to ask you, Colin, being that you did go over to Canberra on a convoy to Camp Epic and spent time there with 1 million Australians, I'd like to ask you, what do you think is the historical significance of Camp Epic and what happened in Canberra?
Well, we went over there with a lot of thoughts and hopes and that sort of thing, but this stinking low-life tyrannical governments we've got, both federally and state, they just got everything so sewn up so badly. It's not so obvious what has happened, what we did achieve and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But every day there's something else that's the wheels are falling off them and that sort of thing. And it won't be that long. Like we've got a great gathering in Canberra this weekend again. There's a great gathering at my place too as well, because I've got all my people went on the convoy. We're having a reunion here on Saturday.
A convoy to Colin's.
Yeah, and known to have a little bit of a party every now and then. But as I say, like it wasn't so obvious from day one and that, but it is happening and it will happen, and we will get back our own country soon, reasonably soon. I'm sure of that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we're watching it from my phone screen when it was all going on for 2 weeks. I remember for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I know people were there longer than that, but for 2 weeks, I remember watching it, and it was inspiring for me. You know, I certainly felt like my world was about to change for the worse, and certainly gave me a lot of hope seeing thousands upon thousands of people going to Canberra. And that's spurred me on to do what I'm doing today, and encouraged me to go out and meet people, and now have met some of the most wonderful people in my life, that's for sure.
I've unfortunately my family 21. I've got 21 immediate family, and unfortunately I'm on the outer with the whole lot of them. Actually, very sad, but that's the way it is, and that sort of thing. And one day I'll be proved to be so 100% right, if I'm not already. But they're too probably proud to say that I was there, you know.
Well, I think that's probably one of the reasons why mainstream media wanted to deny that so many people were at Canberra, because they don't want people thinking that something's actually going on, do they?
No.
You know, they don't want your friends and family that are nearest and dearest to you coming over and to your side and having some different thoughts. Yeah. So the mainstream media have a lot to answer for, that's for sure.
Just ridiculous how they control it, you know, like, but I just can't believe there's so many very, very learned people out there, a lot of them, you know, amongst my friends, very, very learned people, and just can't see what's happening, you know, and just say you're an idiot, Colin. But, you know, and that's what really gripes in me so much, that after you know, the first 3 or 4 months, they probably sucked it up and said, oh, well, you know, it's going to happen, this is going to happen. But after 2.5 to 3 years now, that they can't see it, I just fail to believe that such well-learned people can't, you know, can't grasp what has happened in that,
Yeah. So just to finish off, Colin, I appreciate you telling us about your experience at Camp Epic. Is there something you would like to tell?
Oh, well, I suppose you're going to tell me about how I jumped the border or whatever. Is that what you're asking?
Oh, well, I did thank you for reminding me, Colin. I failed to mention that Colin was one of the first people to be arrested coming back into Western Australia because our illustrious Premier had shut the borders. Yes, that's right. So you do have that claim to fame, don't you, Colin?
Yeah,
without being
I was the first. Not something I'm really.
Actually,
Yeah.
I did see the video. It was on Rod Cullerton's page.
Oh yes, yeah.
Where he was standing there talking to, I think it was a couple of police officers, one from South Australia, and I thought,
the
that
shirtless
man
one.
over there, the shirtless man with an armful of papers. I thought, I know that man.
Yeah. Well, so what actually happened? They tried to get us to do the G2G passes, and we didn't understand that. So on the midnight of the 2nd of March is when the maggot opened the borders, and there was 10 or 11 cars, can't remember, 10 or 11 cars says, well, we're going home, and we went home and that sort of thing. But they piss-farted around a bit sort of thing and that, and stopped and started and that. But I'm a driver, so I just kept driving, and when I get into Nullamurra, that would have been up even. When I got into Norseman, ironically, the first night we camped was at this car park over there, to my left, sort of thing, about 200 metres, and on the road there was a cop car with 4 of those cones, and there was a copper walking over towards these others. There was 4 cop cars, a big bus, and one of those big black United Nations vehicles and that sort of thing. And I know I kept going. No need for me to stop. I've committed no crime, And next minute,
not yet.
next minute, here they come. I thought I'd done Penny Arcade with all these flashing lights and all these bloody things going, and the old coppers coming up to me. When I got to, and Rod had said, now don't get off the main highway. I got to the T-junction. I sort of sat in the middle of the road there, and this big United Nations thing there, and Hitler's sister was in the passenger side, and she gets out and all this clobber on and said, don't move, and the driver gets out and he's got a huge bag and stuff. I said, what's in the bag, mate? You got some fruit or something for me? He said, and then he unpeels it, all the PP, all the shit, the one that he had, the masks and the overalls and that, and there's one car parked behind me and one parked, and she said, now don't move, and you couldn't go right up there sort of thing. Anyway, so but I got caught, but nothing happened of it, because when I eventually was supposed to go to court, they discontinued the case because under Section 25 of the Criminal Code, they had no case, that they could not substantiate a case for me to be charged in it. But unfortunately, a lot of other people had been charged and had paid some fines and that, but they're working on getting it back and that sort of thing.
What a disgrace. Just another example. I had quite a number of friends who were travelling around Australia at that time in caravans. They weren't going to Canberra like you were, but they did get stuck for a number of weeks on the border. So did you just say your case was dismissed? No, discontinued.
Under Section 25 of the Criminal Code. You look it up, the Criminal Code.
Well, it's funny, border closures, masks, social distancing, because it works, because science. And you're going to get in trouble. But then they can't actually charge you.
When
I don't know why that is.
When I was on my journey, and as I say, I travelled 9,426 kilometres. I think it was that much. And when I got back on the way back, coming to Nullarbor Roadhouse, there's a big sign, a full page, the window full. Do not enter without mask and that. And anyway, I opened the door, went in there, and I just got 25 litres or $25. I can't remember. You can't come in here without a mask. I said, oh, that's fine, mate. So I walked in. I said, I'm just going to pay for my fuel, so it doesn't matter. That's all right. That's fine. So anyway, she chases me out, and she said, you got to pay for your fuel. I said, well, bring your machine out here. I can't. She said, we'll take cash. I said, no, I don't use cash, because nowadays it's the other way around a bit. But I said, no, I'm right. I'll pay you next time when I can come in without a mask. And anyway, I eventually let her in, and she said, have you got an exemption? I said, of course I've got an exemption. I wouldn't get around with that. And of course, I don't know if you've seen the old exemptions that they had back at, oh, look at that. That's how ironical is that, by the way.
Okay.
Just come, and I had the old one that you get out of the Wheaties packet.
Oh yeah, the one that you can the exemption ticket you can print for yourself.
Yeah. And she read every word. Oh, that's all right then. Yeah.
Yep.
And then I went, yeah. So
Yep.
ridiculous. They just got no idea what the whole thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
So just before we finish up, Colin, I just want to mention on Saturday the 18th of February, we do have a rally coming up, the Worldwide Rally for Freedom. Come along and say no to the WHO pandemic treaty. And so I do know that, I think it was probably a week ago, Michael did interview James Roguski on Cafe Lockedout, and they were talking about the WHO pandemic treaty, especially in regards to Australia. So I don't know, shuffle on back to a few videos ago and you'll be able to check that out. So the last thing I want to ask you, Colin, is that people still are afraid to speak out, even attend rallies like the one I've just mentioned that's happening on the 18th. So what could you say to anybody out there, Colin, to give them some courage to come along on Saturday, the 18th of February, to the Rally for Freedom?
Look, what I can really say is just start believing what is really, really happening. Just don't get off the MSM bullshit that the lies that they perpetrate and all, and get there and just talk to some of these people who do know what they come. You know, I'd just like someone to read a bit about a Peter McCulloch, Dr. Peter McCulloch, David Martin, the old man in the chair, I think his name, what's his name, Coleman, in England. You know, read something there that statistics are right. And if you don't believe those ones, read up the Australian statistics, the TGA's own statistics, and they will tell you that the lots of lies and the bullshit that's going on, and that's their own government thing. And so, for God's sake, people, just have a look at that, or listen to some of the older people that do know what's going on. Come along to the umbrella people there. Just show your protest and that sort of thing, and without any harm. You know, you might get caught for stalking, but that's neither here nor there, as we'll find out later in life. But just come along and voice your opinions there. Get up, don't be frightened to get up and say what you really think. And I'm sure you'll get a lot more sense out of it, and people will start, you know, just believing the whole truth, and it's not good unless we do something about it.
That's right. And we also have a wonderful newspaper here, the Live
Oh,
Australia,
yes.
so if you see one of those, pick up.
Yeah.
And I've just heard that they are now available in parts of Queensland, so that
really?
is fantastic as well.
Yes.
So here
Right.
with my gracious assistant, this is issue 3 now, upside down. That has just is currently being distributed across Western Australia and Queensland, so that's fabulous. And if you aren't able to get your hands on one of these, you can go to thelightaustralia.com, and they do have a digital copy, which you can also check out, which is fabulous. And all run by volunteers, 500 of them, all the way from Port Hedland down to Albany. It's amazing what people can do when they get together.
Absolutely.
Exactly like in Canberra at Camp Epic.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you, Colin, for sharing your story. It is important to record this because our history, our recent history, is trying to be erased while we're still living it. So I do appreciate you talking to me today,
pleasure.
Colin.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Right, until my next video, I'm going to say bye.
He's looking up your skirt, as they say, don't they? Or what do they say? Something like that. Whatever it is.
Maybe you should come on You Can't Say That on Edge Radio, because you can't say that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what was I just going to ask you now? I've forgotten.
Never said no to a young lady yet, either, by the way.